everyone. Let's get dangerous.
This is so cool.
I know.
It feels so right.
It's Jake Ciely.
Opening our minds to new ideas. Kill him!
Who is that guy?
Your mama.
You just made the list.
Oh, wait, you're serious? Let me laugh even harder.
It's all in fantasy. Please of the ranks.
Sure, we talk about it all the time.
Really?
No, burn.
Game on, you ducks. It is all in fantasy, as you heard. And guess who's back? Back again. Guess who's back? Tell your Canadian friends. Chris Meaney's back on the Ranking Show at Chris Meaney over at FTN. Make sure you're checking everything out there. Finally heard from all 3 winners of the FTN memberships. So congratulations to those people. Yeah, I know it took a little while, Chris.
Nice.
But it took a while, but we got everybody. And we are going to continue something we're doing for rankings. As I could talk because wonderful Coda needs to be reminded to stop. I'm on a show. Go away. But yeah, she did go away. There you go. If you watch later on YouTube.
Listens nicely.
Yeah. We're going to do the rankings, as I said, fatalities and power-ups. So kind of different way of looking at it. Chances that the guys you normally start potentially leave you dead, or potential for sleepers to power up your roster and get you that win in week 2. Meaney, week 1 is in the books. Waivers is run in a lot of leagues. Well, at least flex. I thought it was interesting to see where some of the bids went, and of course we talk about those. But did you go heavy in any of your leagues on waivers? It seems like the bigger 2 names. I wasn't expecting the second one as much as it was, at least across flex. Again, for everybody that doesn't know, it's the experts, quote unquote, industry leagues that I run. And Tyler Johnson made a lot of sense. Saw a few on Alec Pierce. I saw a few kind of like nothing huge. Lazard went from more than I probably would have spent. We talked about that on the waivers show. But the one that surprised me a bit was Justice Hill popped up quite a bit. And I get it, because the Ravens even said, like, we didn't bring in Derrick Henry to give him 30 touches a game. But I don't care, because he's still going to go score the touchdowns. It's just mine is how many games do I really expect the Ravens to be fighting to keep up like they were with the Chiefs, playing from behind, needing Justice Hill? Like, I know he's going to be the passing down back, and he was out there for all of their third downs, unlike Derrick Henry, but I just don't know, like, how many games I'm really going to be able to use Justice Hill. Am I crazy, or should I have been more aggressive on Justice? Okay.
You're not correct. I didn't even bother with him. Yeah, it's game script. It's what you said, right? He's definitely going to be on the field in 2-minute drills. We saw that. Even when that game was tight, he was on the field in 2-minute drills. And yeah, they're not going to be playing from behind a lot. Like, this is still a legit defense, and they're going to be up in a lot of games, and they're going to lean on Henry. So yeah, Henry's not going to get 30 carries. I never ever thought that. He may just average 17 for the whole season, but I still am in the camp where he will get a rushing touchdown every game.
I was about to say 3 of them are coming within the 10-yard line.
I mean, he may get 3 this week against the Raiders. Like, that's possible. Like, this would be a Henry game as opposed to a Justice Hill game. Yeah, I was kind of aggressive on Lazard in situations where I had some wide receivers that I was a little bit uneasy about, and I'm sure we'll talk about some of those guys today. And I lost Ferguson in a couple spots, and he may play. So I did get a little bit of Parkinson in my life. I think the only guys that had a lot of Demarcus Robinson, surprisingly, on some of my teams. In your flex league, I had
already
likely already, and some guys. So Lazard was the guy that I was probably most aggressive, because I actually do believe in the rapport between him and Rodgers just gets whatever he wants, and it just runs through Aaron Rodgers.
Do you believe?
Look at the way that the Jets build their squad. It's like Packer. So that's why I was a little aggressive on him.
Do you believe in the Charger? Do you believe if Lazard's time is limited until Mike Williams gets 100%, or do you think potentially Mike Williams is the 3?
Yeah, I think Williams may be the 3, and I think this is something this is something I think I overlooked. I'm still overlooked the relationship. I think Williams is a much better wide receiver, and I do believe he has more upside. But we'll see how this thing plays out.
Okay. Well, then
it just be bad for it might just end up being bad for Garrett Wilson, to be honest with you.
That's the thing. I Garrett Wilson is. I'm not too upset. I was gonna say I'm not upset about that, because he's a number 2, and I Again,
Right.
number two is not a bad thing. Like
It's not.
Let's
But he was drafted as
yeah, I was gonna say if you draft him as the sixth
a
or
one
seventh
for
wide
sure.
receiver,
Yeah.
you're not as happy about that.
We'll see.
Let's get right into Thursday Night Football. And the fact that we might not have two running backs. We might not have Etienne or Mostert as of right now. They're not practicing. We're recording Wednesday morning at 10:05. We are talking right now, so things could change by this afternoon's practice reports. Jalen Wright said he expects him to play, but whatever. Like we had the whole Jordan Mason, Christian McCaffrey thing. I don't believe nothing that anybody's talking about during practice in the weeks anyway.
Right.
But as of right now, like there's a multiple like this. We need like one of those graphs, like the charts where you go down like if yes, no, and like you kind of move over to the bubbles because it's kind of like if no Mostert, but we have Etienne, and then if we have no Etienne, but we have Mostert, and then we have if you have neither. So I think, and I'm going to move to the third option unless you disagree with me, but if it's no Mostert, Jeff Wilson becomes an intriguing flex play in my opinion, and Etienne's fine. If there's no Etienne, then Mostert's in play, and then I feel hesitant about Wilson because I think Wright fills the Etienne role, and then both of them are kind of flexes, but I feel less confident about that than I did if Wilson's replacing Mostert. I see you shaking your head, so I'm going to continue.
Yep,
now here's the question. Is it as simple as no Mostert, no Etienne? It's Wilson and Wright as Mostert, as Etienne, and maybe they're both RB2 threes just because they're not Mostert and Etienne, and we don't know what to expect.
Yeah, I think you laid that out perfectly. Wright is a guy that I know I've talked about as a stash. He wasn't active week one. A lot would need to happen for him to touch the field. And I think it was just him and Jeff Wilson. Wilson would get a majority of the touches. He's been around Mike McDaniel forever. You can go back to San Fran when Mike McDaniel's with Shanahan and Jeff Wilson was there. So I think he would be the lead. But yeah, Wright would be that guy catching balls out of the backfield. He did a lot of that in the preseason. He looked fantastic in the preseason. So it would be just, a 1-2 punch. I'm sure Wright would get some of the touches, but I would have Wilson ranked ahead of him, even though I want, like everybody else, like I see the upside. I want it to be Wright. I just feel it will be Jeff Wilson getting the lead, getting some goal line stuff, but they would definitely use Wright as well.
Okay. Then let's kind of move towards the fatalities and power ups. Again, fatality chances that these players just ruin your week. And then, of course, power-ups, maybe you get the opposite over there. First up, let's go to the Bills game. Actually, you know what? Let's stick in this game real quick. Oh, what am I talking about? Let's stick in this game with the Bills, and this game is how I meant to phrase it. On the other side, what are the chances that Khalil Shakir fatality is your lineup? Because he had a good week one, but Keon Coleman ran as the one, and Shakir was actually the 3. Matt Collins was the 2. So in a potential shootout, are you okay with Shakir still, or are you a little hesitant to plug him in your line? Because even though we were on Shakir, and I think a lot of people in the industry were on Shakir, it's not like he was a 7th rounder and you have to start him. Like there could be plenty of teams where Shakir is on your bench and you wait this out, but it's very enticing to see at Dolphins and get the excitement of what this game could be. So which way are you leaning? Are you like more likely that Shakir fatality is your lineup, or that he actually comes through as at least flex option?
I think he could come through as a flex option. I'm not super excited about him though, but yeah, you mentioned the game and the environment, and Josh Allen has owned Miami. I think he's 11-1 in his last 12 against the Dolphins. Like he's really beat up on that squad. The Dolphins tweeted out like a matchup against their daddy this week. Coleman is ranked ahead of him for me. Okay. I wouldn't play Samuel, but yeah, as a flex play, you're looking for a touchdown. I think he would need a touchdown for him to, be serviceable, like in the 7 to 10 fantasy point range. I actually think he would need to score, which is possible in this matchup. There are some guys that we'll talk about in the show that I like more, but yeah, I think he's in the flex conversation.
Yeah, I actually think Shakir could have the best game if Jalen Ramsey bounces back and spends a lot of time facing Coleman. Like if you're going to tell me, like last week, Ramsey struggled with my boy. Brian Thomas won that game.
Did.
Like,
that was awesome to see those two guys.
Jalen Ramsey, like when was the last time you remember Jalen Ramsey intentionally pass interfering to stop a play? Like,
and he still almost caught that ball, and he had to do that, or else that would have been a touchdown.
And so anyway, I'm saying like I'd still take Ramsey over a rookie like Coleman versus a rookie like Thomas every single time. So I think this could be a very intriguing one for Shakir as well. All right, so Saints Cowboys in this one, two different sides of this, but same team. So we saw Shaheed in week one. top 10 wide receiver. Now he gets the Cowboys, and it's in Dallas. That being said, Shaheed was moved around a lot, including the slot. There's some opportunities here. On the flip side, a potential sleeper that I think everybody's going to think Juwan Johnson, but I was looking at it, and I think the play actually might be Foster Moreau for one reason and one reason only. The Dallas Cowboys run man more than almost any team in the league. Foster Moreau destroys man coverage. It's ridiculous. Like, he's kind of against zone, and then all of a sudden through the roof in man coverage. And unless, like, if they were basically out there splitting 50-50. So I'll put it this way. What's more likely? The Shaheed fatality or the Moreau power-up? Which is more likely between the two? You're going to say the Moreau because you don't think Shaheed's going to. You don't think Shaheed's going to fatality, right?
Yeah, I don't. I think Shaheed will be fine, but I mean, Foster Moreau, you can go back into the Raiders days, especially inside the red zone with Carr and him. Like, those guys have had some moments. I mean, you got 3 tight ends now in New Orleans, and any one of those guys could score a touchdown. Juwan Johnson is a red zone target, Foster is a red zone target, and Taysom Hill running it in. So play your game of whatever you want to do and rank these guys. Some leagues I'm in a tough spot at the tight end position, and I got Juwan Johnson, and I'm just hoping he gets a red zone target. Like, I don't think Foster Moreau or Juwan Johnson are going to get more than 4 targets.
No, but let me put it this way.
They're going to come in the red zone.
Would you not play Foster Moreau over Luke Musgrave?
100%. Yeah, Kraft is
yeah.
ahead of him.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think who else like down in that range. Foster Moreau.
I would play Foster Moreau over Komet.
Freiermuth, like all these ones that like aren't even on the field that much.
Yeah, man, Gerald Everett. I know Shane Waldron was with Everett for a minute in Seattle, but right away for him to have more snaps and run more routes is pretty telling. And where
I think that's
at.
very. Here's out. How about Foster Moreau or there was one more, and then we went down that path and Dalton Schultz. Would you go that far? Dalton Schultz is probably a non-factor.
I know, he really is a non-factor.
I said he was going to.
We said this. Him and Komet, like, they're good tight ends, but they're not going to be factors. And maybe we'll see more Komet this week with no Rome Odunze, like it's possible.
That's the only hope for Komet.
Schultz.
Okay, I might just go for the. It's tight end. Just go for the home run play, like,
go for the
because.
touchdown.
How many times have we seen this? In what we talked about all preseason is 3 wide receiver offenses that utilize their third wide receiver enough to be like, hey, they're in play, which is the whole problem of what we sat here and be like, how are people even thinking about Noah Fant? Same thing here, Komet. Same thing with Schultz. They're just, in fantasy, just stop. There's no point. Like,
I can't believe, like Fant was ranked as a top 20 tight end for people consensus, like... I felt a little uneasy when I had him in the 30. I had like this guy's not relevant at all. And then you second guess yourself, right? When you start to see things, it's like, no, I'm just sticking to what I'm feeling, and Fant is not near a top 25 tight end.
All right, let's move to Buccaneers Lions here. And for the Buccaneers, what are the chances that I'm going to go power up first here, that Jalen McMillan powers up your lineup? Like, you're going to actually put him in your lineup. He basically had a nothing in week 1. I mean, the touchdown, but it was nothing-ish. Like, he wasn't even top 25 with that. He could have had 3. One off his fingertips, another one left on the field. So, the other part about McMillan is this is a 3 wide receiver set, but he was out there more than Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. I don't think anybody's going to be like, oh, wow, he's the new number 1. But, again, shootout. Lions, Jared Goff, at home, indoors. McMillan. I'll give you a toss-up. McMillan or Shakir this week? I'm still going Shakir, but I want to see if
I'm going to go Shakir too. I don't think I'm there yet with McMillan. A late-round pick for us. We like him, stash him, hold him. Maybe there's situations where you can play him bye-week stuff because Baker's looking pretty good and they run a lot of 3. Man, you're right. He was out there more than any of them, but it was a blowout. So I thought, watching that game, maybe they just eased off Godwin and Evans at time. Yeah. But I got him in the 50s. So, I think he's probably a better dart throw than like Hopkins or Jacoby Myers. But were you starting Jacoby Myers? Like, Hopkins against the Jets. There's some tough spots out there. Deontay Johnson.
I have Hopkins like down in the 60s. The dude barely barely ran routes in week 1, and this knee.
I got him at 62. Yeah,
there you go.
So that's, but I'm not going to start McMillan yet. I need to.
Here's an interesting
it's
one.
a little risky.
To go back to waivers, would you Dropkins DeAndre for McMillan, Mitchell, Lazard? Because I saw a lot of people asking, like, would you just drop Hopkins? And I was like, wow, I don't know. Like, I would definitively do it for like a Bucky Irving or something like that. Like, that's how far I'm going, because I'm going to chase running backs over wide receivers. And I do think Hopkins potentially could get back to 100%. But, like, if it's the knee and his age, and at this point, like, I just
the
put a different name on the
really tough to
jersey.
start.
I know, like, put a different name on the jersey. I'm like, get rid of him. But it's
Yeah.
DeAndre Hopkins.
I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, look at me. I didn't draft this guy who may be a bust, but I actually don't have any shares. So I'm just trying to think of, like, if I had a share of him, he probably would be my wide receiver 3. So to drop him, I would need to be feeling pretty good about my wide receiver room. To your point, if I'm dropping him, I would rather stash the running back, that X-man up. There's all these wide receivers that you can pick up throughout the year that we'll talk about that maybe we can play as a flex and whatnot. I think it's better suited for a Bucky Irving, for Jalen Wright. Yeah, any sort of running back stash out there. I wouldn't do it yet for some of the wide receivers you mentioned, like maybe Lazard, because I think it'd be a similar. As I think it may be a similar season for both of these guys, but I think things are going to be really ugly again for Tennessee this week, especially if you own Calvin Ridley. If Sauce is going to be on him, it's going to be another ugly game for that offense.
We're going to talk about them in a second. Going back real quickly to the Lions, here's your potential fatality, because you know everybody who stashed him as a sleeper, and everybody's excited. The breakout, we joked about it. It is here. It officially happened. But everybody's going to slam Jameson Williams into their lineups. Everybody's going to do it. What's the potential that a fatalities in week 2?
He's not going to.
It's not happening.
There's like a 35-40% chance. I think he's here.
That's
though.
higher than I thought you'd go.
Yeah, I mean, I have him as wide receiver 28. Like, I have him just one spot ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr. That's where I'm at. Like, this guy is a supreme talent.
You killed Marvin Harrison Jr.
I did. I have him as like a wide receiver 3. That's the guy that I've moved significantly.
So I have Jameson at 32. We're not that far off.
From heading into week 1 to heading into week 2, that is the guy that has dropped the most in my rankings. And it's not talent. It's what we talked about yesterday. It's what we talked about on Sirius. I believe in the skill set. I think he probably scores a touchdown. I was talking to Jay Felicio last night. He's putting together some start and sit videos for me. And I was like, man, I want to put Marv as a sit, but I actually think he'll find the end zone. I'm not going to get too carried away.
I'm in the teens. I'd still start him over Neighbors.
Yeah, I have Neighbors right around him too, so I'm not high on Neighbors, even though it's a really good matchup. It's just the volume. Anyways, for Jameson, he's here, man. He may not get 9 targets, 8 catches, 100+ yards, but it's a high total game. It's in a dome. It's against the Bucs, who were awful against wide receivers last year, and I expect them to be again this year. He's going to get some shots. I'm just going to live with the boomer bust. I'm in, man. Wide receivers.
All right, then let me ask you, in front of Jameson Williams, George Pickens or Jameson Williams for you this week?
Jameson Williams. Yeah, Surtain's a beast, man. Look what DK did last week. Nothing.
Jameson or Keenan Allen at Houston with Noah Dunze, likely.
I get Keenan one spot ahead of Jameson. Yeah, volume, okay. I think, yeah.
McLaurin against the Giants or Jameson?
I got McLaurin 2 spots behind Jameson.
Behind?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I know. Well, man, you saw the offense. You had a freak out. Let's see if they change it up.
I was freaking out
free for me. I still play Terry. Like, I have him as like a start, but I don't have him as like a low end wide receiver too.
If Higgins goes, Higgins against the Chiefs or Jameson?
I got Higgins.
Okay,
ahead, a couple spots ahead. Right. Yeah.
We're not too different. We like same range, and projections are Wednesday afternoons, as people know. So there's still time. I might adjust some of them because when you're in this tight a group, for everybody that doesn't know, I do my rankings off of how my gut's feeling, how I'm looking at everything that I digested on Tuesday, trying to watch everything I possibly can and break through all these stats, and then Wednesday is when I do the projections. So when I have people like Jameson versus Pickens versus Allen versus McLaurin, like if the projections are like significantly apart. I'll adjust a little bit because I'm already in that range to give it a peek behind the curtain, so to speak, of how I work through my rankings throughout the week. All right. So where do we left off with Jameson and the the Lions game. I'm trying to take, so everybody don't know, if you listen to it, like I'm trying to take notes too so I can make timestamps. I don't know if they work. I'm going to find out. I don't know if they work on the podcasting side because I'm going to find out this week. So either this is a wasted effort.
In the episode
They
notes,
should? Okay, so either this is a really good thing for everybody or this is a wasted effort. You guys can let me know. You can be like, that was stupid work. You ruined your entire podcast, Jake. All right. We already talked about Alan Lazard. So obviously you're in on him. Where did you have Alan Lazard for this week, by the way? I
actually didn't have him that high, depending on being aggressive. I have him at 39. Like, I don't I mean, that's
a
flex play.
Yeah, that's a starter.
Super high. Yeah.
By the way, if you didn't catch that, that was
he's in the Shakir, Rashid, Demarcus Robinson kind of range for me. I play Robinson over all of those guys I just mentioned.
Okay. Deontay Johnson, I'm assuming you're going Lazard.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Deontay Johnson's. I may be overreacting after.
All right, we got to jump. We're going to come back around. He's definitively on this list. All right. Yeah. On the other side, because they're facing the Jets, and because what we saw in Week 1, the Tony Pollard to Tajay Spears split was identical team target percentages, but Spears was out there quite a bit. And I don't know if you know this, but on third down, what do you think Spears' running back touch share was on third down?
I think it was 100% on third and fourth.
It was 100%. It was 100%. Yeah. Oh, third and fourth. See, so you saw my tweet. Somebody else probably like redid that because I included fourth. I just included fourth for all the stats because if there is a fourth down, like how rarely that's going to happen.
I think I didn't see your tweet. I'm going to go check it out. I'm a closet Titans fan this year, so I'm in tune with every snap that they're going to have this year. So that was
so there you go.
That's how I know. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you the other backs off the top of my head and teams, but for whatever reason, Brian Callahan just has my heart this year. We'll see. He may destroy it.
So are you in on Spears then as a potential power up?
Yeah, I think.
Would you go Spears? Oh, here's you go. Would you go Spears or would you go Pollard this week because of the matchup?
I would go Pollard, but they're really close, a couple spots. I would go Pollard because, I think Callahan's really going to have to lean on the ground game and use both of these guys quite a bit, especially just seeing, I know it's a different offense, but just seeing what the Niners did to that Jets run defense, it's just so tough to pass on them. So I'd say we'll see both of these guys catching balls. Like I'll be looking at props for both Spears and Pollard and still think Pollard will be the lead. Okay. But yeah, pretty close to each other this week.
So here's the tweet. I said running backs with 100% of his running back and the team's running back touches on third and fourth down in Week 1. So these are the running backs. The list starts pretty obvious. Jonathan Taylor, Jacobs, Stevenson, Mason, Kyron, Bijan, Dobbins, Singletary, and Zach Moss. For we talked about that, and we had
that would be shocking for everybody but us.
I know. Well, I put the eyes emoji next to it. We had, like I said, we had Jay Morrison on the Sirius XM show, and he was saying that the pass catching is there, and they're concerned about Chase Brown's like his basically being where he needs to be at times. There's still some questions about that. So here's the two at the bottom though, with the thinking emoji on this one. Khalil Herbert, 100% of the third. Yeah, see? But it's not like they had a ton, but he had all of them.
That's surprising.
Swift didn't have a single one. And then Tajay Spears with the exclamation mark. So there's your list. Real quick, just to throw this out there, 5 running backs who had that 100% mark also had 80% of their team's total touches at running back. I know somebody even put in the comments, well, that's not fair to Breece Hall because the blow. Okay, fine. You want to include Breece Hall. But the 5, Jonathan Taylor, Kyron Williams, Bijan Robinson, Jordan Mason, Breece Hall, for all intents and purposes. Ramondre Stevenson. What's the chances Ramondre Stevenson fatalities us in just trusting him after 1 week? Like, it's bell cow workload from Ramondre Stevenson.
It's possible that he disappoints us, but very encouraging to see him get that work. My goodness. Like, if Mayo decides that he just wants to stick with Ramondre no matter what the score is in football games, like when they're down, he may just be top 10 in touches overall. So, consider it a huge win. You have Ramondre and what you got from week 1, but there will be some up and down games. But the fact that he was on the field like in 3rd and 4th down situations, like, and it's not, I know Gibson wasn't 100%, but that's really good news for Ramondre. I'm thinking, I don't even really remember off the top of my head who the Patriots have this week, but
Seahawks. I was just about to go there.
Would you good at matchup? Got him at RB21.
Would you risk Demario Douglas as a sleeper this week for a power up? You saw Bo Nix pepper the hell out of the underneath against this team. I mean, Jacoby Brissett, part 2, Bo Nix.
Yeah, no, I'm not playing any new.
Oh, okay. Well, then, no. You say that so quickly. I think he can play. I think I can find a way because, like, I have Demario Douglas as like a wide receiver 4. Like, why not Demario Douglas or Deontay Johnson? Boom. Did I just not give you Demario?
No, I do have Deontay. I do have Deontay ranked ahead of him. Just a couple spots, so you could twist my arm and get it. It was just, yeah, no doubt. It was so bad for Deontay. Decent spot against the Chargers.
So how about? Let's talk about it real quick. Zach Charbonnet. If Kenneth Walker plays, do you still use him as a flex running back? Because I think he's in play in this game against the Patriots for what you can do as a pass-catching running back. And that fact that Kenneth Walker might not be 100%, and maybe after week 1, the Seahawks are like, yeah, you know what? Let's not kill Kenneth Walker, who's dealt with injuries a couple times already throughout his career.
Yeah, like, do you play him over a guy like Zamir White and Chuba Hubbard? I may do that.
Yes. Yes.
Right? I got him in the 30s. I got Jaleel McLaughlin ahead of him, so I'd play.
Is Zamir White the biggest fatality of week 2? Like, if you put Zamir White in your lineup, are you begging to get it? Okay.
Yeah, you can't do it. The fact that he didn't do anything in a really good spot, it would be jokes to see him like 2 touchdowns and 80 yards against the Ravens on your bench. But no, you can't. Early loss for me. You can't play Zamir White. I'm not dropping him. I don't drop starting running backs, especially. I know that he got out snapped.
Is he the starting running
back? He still had 13 carries to Madison's 5. But yeah, if you're in the deepest league, it's probably between the two, it'd probably be Madison again this week.
All right, we went past the 49ers and Vikings, so let's come back to them. Chances for a fatality of Brandon Aiyuk this week after his limited snap count was actually very limited in week 1. Is this pretty much we're good, roll him out there? We got our preseason game, quote unquote, under wraps, and now roll him out against the Vikings?
Yeah, power up. He's
no concern?
Top 15 wideout for me this week. No concern. I would playing DFS. People won't look at him because of last week. Limited in sauce and almost had a touchdown in the end zone. He should actually came away with that one. Yeah, they should have their way with the Vikings. Although they're going to run. Oh my God, they're going to run all over.
Oh yeah, I'd say I have no concerns about Brandon Aiyuk myself. But on the flip side of this game, I actually have Brandon Aiyuk at 16. So there you go. He's right in line with Michael Pittman and Devonta Smith and Devonta Adams. I didn't even do that on purpose. All right. Jalen Naylor. Any interest if there's no Jordan Addison as a steeper sleeper? It is the 49ers. Here's what I said about him. It's deep league, 12 with big benches, 14 teams are where you can possibly do this, but no Jordan Addison. And I don't know if everybody knows this. I put it in the column, so if you already read the column before listening to this, you do know. The dude's nickname is Speedy. He was a track star, like legit, like track star. So big plays, the 49ers' pass defense are still susceptible to. A lot of 20-yard chunk plays last year. Already look potentially like they could give those up again this season. So I know he's nothing more than, hey, you could potentially get a legitimately fatality, big fat 0. Like the guy didn't even play if it looks like it in your lineup. But Jalen Naylor in the range of a Jacoby Myers for floor, Jerry Jeudy, McMillan, Mitchell, like those names, or do you have to go further down to get to Naylor?
I think further. I like where you're at.
Alec Pierce?
And
like he's the Alec Pierce now?
Yeah.
Darnell Mooney?
Mooney. I think Mooney may. I wouldn't start Mooney, but against the Eagles secondary, I think he could have a moment or two. But no, it's like a stash, a DFS, or a prop.
A moment or two
for a prop.
A moment or two. We're gonna jump way ahead here, so I need to definitely timestamp this one for the Eagles. The moment or two would need Kirk Cousins to have a moment or two to be able to actually throw the ball. Like
fair
against the Eagles front. Like I know they think their pass defense is questionable, but their front is not. You tell me Kirk Cousins is going to feel anything good about sitting in the pocket with that bum foot?
It should be another uneasy game for Kirk Cousins in the pocket. I went back and watched a majority of Kirk Cousins throws again, and man, it wasn't good because there were some times where he had time. He had almost all day to make a throw and still not planning on that right foot. And
did you
just,
see
like,
that
panicking.
pseudo play action I was telling you about?
I did see that. Yeah, I thought about you. I actually rewinded a couple times. I watched it a couple times.
I was like, does that count? Like, it's legitimately some sites counted it, some sites didn't.
I know. It
was so pathetic.
Yeah, like that's probably why I wouldn't start. And I can see maybe in an 8-team, 10-team, definitely in an 8 and a 10-team league where you start 2 wide receivers. London would be on my bench this week. You should see quite a bit of Slay and what you just said. We're jumping around, but the pressure should be on him. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's some time in a deep shot for Mooney.
It's House of Pain over here. That's what we're doing. We're jumping around.
Nice.
In case you're gonna get
I
that.
like it.
Yeah.
Now they'll play that at the link when they sack him.
So the college football game doesn't have that on it because they weren't able to license the really, really big songs. Like they don't have Sandman for Virginia Tech and stuff like that, which is understandable because Metallica probably charges $1 billion to use 10 seconds of their songs. But
right. They didn't want to be on Napster.
They have some, but they don't have like the big ones like that, unfortunately. We got to go way back up the list. Or actually, you know what? Before we get out of this game, Tyler Algier, I actually do think is an intriguing sleeper if you need a running back. Like I would play Tyler Algier over Zamir White, mainly because if you have any hope against the Eagles, you're going to run the ball. Kirk Cousins can't throw. And this might be that one where we joked about it. I mean, you're the one that brought it up on Sirius XM, the whole like 20 for Bijan and 13 for Algier every single week. Like this might be the week where that happens. They get 30 to 35 touches combined, maybe even 40. So I think Algier's in play where I said, yeah, I would play him over both Raiders.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. They probably should have had that game plan last week, actually, and they should have it this week.
Okay. Colts Packers, as we hit this one. Adonai Mitchell. Can I get you on a sleeper for Adonai Mitchell? Somebody else, just like Jalen McMillan. Big plays, left on the field, actually led the Colts in target percentage. So there's 2 different things. There's team target percentage, and then target percentage is how much they're targeted on the routes they ran. So just like, no, sorry, he didn't leave, he was outside of Michael Pittman. I want to make that clear. I was kind of in my mind, I said something and didn't say it to everybody listening to the podcast. After Pittman was Mitchell way ahead of Pierce. Pierce just happened to go 3 or 3 in that huge play where everybody saw Richardson make the big play, but Mitchell had one left on the field himself with the defender, similar to Brian Thomas, kind of getting interference there. So Mitchell as a sleeper against the Packers. Can I get you in on this one?
Yeah, you can. I do have him ranked ahead of Alec Pierce.
Yeah,
I saw the
Are
same
we done?
things you saw.
Are we asking for a fatality with that one? That kind of feels like a...
We may be. But no, good first game, and according to FTN Fantasy, he was among the leaders in separation. That's what you want to see. It was good. I thought it was a good first game, despite the numbers not really popping in the box score. Could have. There's a couple disconnects. I thought there was one throw that A-Rich missed him. But yeah, I can be on board. Like all of the Packers wide receivers besides Jaden Reed, but I'll probably still play Reed ahead of him. But yeah, AD Mitchell's there in the sleeper combo. Make sure he's rostered. He's available.
Yes. And say if somebody dropped him. That's always watch the drops, man.
We should talk about that on the Sirius show today.
That's
drops, because people overreact like crazy.
Tune in on the Sirius XM show 1 to 3. That's a very, like, I'm trying to think, what was the name that everybody kept saying? Oh, Deontay Johnson. Everybody's like, I'm going to drop Deontay Johnson. I'm like, dude, it's 1 week. Like, it was miserable. And
maybe bench him, but don't drop him.
Oh, yeah. I was yelling more than anybody. The 2 things I yelled the most about was Deontay Johnson and the Panthers, and then the usage of Jaden Daniels in the offense, in the passing game specifically. I am not dropping Deontay Johnson after 1 week. No. There is no way in the world.
Kind of where I'm at with Hopkins too. When you asked me that question, like, it's 1 week. He was extremely limited. It was a tough matchup. It's not going to get better for him this week, but it's just a couple weeks in. Like, it may not look like you got a good pick in either of those guys, but you just can't be dropping. I don't think you'd be dropping them.
Chances you want a fatality for yourself having to watch the Giants and Commanders.
That might be really hard to watch that game. It may be really hard to watch, especially if you're a McLaurin and a neighbor's owner and you just want those guys to get receptions.
All right, jokes aside, what's the chance that Terry McLaurin against the Giants dies on us, similar to did in week 1? I actually think it's much lower. I just told you, I still have McLaurin in top 35 in this week.
Yeah.
Top 30.
Yeah,
It's the
so do
Giants.
I. I have him as a wide receiver 3, as opposed to being a high end 3 or a low end 2. He's just a 3 for me this week. Yeah.
Okay. Would
Good
you
spot.
go
Get him the ball.
Terry McLaurin or George Pickens? I'm going McLaurin.
Me too. I have him 2 spots ahead of Pickens.
Here's one. I think I might like it. This is one I'm going to see what the projections tell me. As of right now, I do have this wide receiver in front of him, but I could see McLaurin and London flipping just because of Kirk Cousins. Like I have London at 25 right now.
Yeah, I got him at 26, but I could co-sign that. I could get behind it. The matchup's
painful.
certainly better. I know, it really is. It really is. We're not doing any victory laps here, but London is wide receiver 10 on average is the price that you guys paid. You may have to just rock them.
Oh, in your face. Suck it. I'm just kidding. I legit feel like
you know what? It could get better when Michael Penix Jr. gets under center.
I was going to say, is that where you're going with this?
Yes,
you're about to
that's
say it
where
could
I'm
get
going.
better. Jokes aside, is there a chance that this whole offense is just done this year already? Just because, I don't think they're going to turn to Penix unless it's 100%. No. I'm saying at all, unless it's 100%. Like if we have to get to like week 6 and it's like Kirk Cousins' Achilles still isn't right, then I could see it. I just don't think it's going to be like, oh, he's playing poorly.
No,
because the team said he feels comfortable, and it's just like health-wise, it's more that he's not comfortable on like trusting it and testing it out. Like maybe it's fine and it takes 2 or 3 weeks, but I could see like again week 5 being like the dude still can't plant right. He's still not doing play action. He's still not dropping back under center. And then they make the switch. So like,
that's the thing. You give them a couple weeks. You give them a couple weeks to get, feel right and get comfortable.
They might be out of the playoff race already.
and the matchups too, and the new system. So I mean, they got in Philly and then home to Kansas City week 3. Like this team has a legitimate chance to start 0-3. Then they got the Saints and Bucs. So things may not get better for their offense until week 5 or week 6. Oh yeah. Right. And it's something that said on the Sirius show, if you want to back the Falcons at -110 to win the division, just wait because they actually may start 1-5. And then we talked before that the schedule from week 11 on is like the easiest in football. But at that point,
which is insane.
Do they go to Penix or who knows?
Forget like week 11. Like I feel was the NFL trying to get the Falcons on a late run? Look at the last 4. The last 4 weeks for the Falcons.
It doesn't
Raiders, Giants, Commanders, Panthers.
Right. And I think that the winning
You're talking about
team in this division,
all 4 should be in the top 10 picks.
Right. It is extremely both sides of it, right? It is tough. The Steelers were a live dog. Our model loved them too. And the way that they finish can get them still get them around 500. And that's what's really won this division over the last few years. So they're still, even starting like 1-3, 1-4, they're still alive. So I think they could be pretty patient with Cousins. But Jake, if they start 2-7, what's the point? At that point, they'll be like, damn, we spent all this money on Kirk Cousins, but we also drafted Michael Penix in the first round. So let's get him in there.
Okay. Well, then a team that they face later on, then let's talk about this one. Chargers, Panthers. I'm going to turn this a little bit differently. If you had to choose one of these 2 wide receivers that will fatality your lineup, and then one of these 2 wide receivers that will power up your lineup, which would it be? Lad McConkey or Deontay Johnson?
Lad, power up, lad.
Really? This is how bad.
In the slot, I'm not super big on Palmer either. Yeah, 1 week. Man, I wasn't in on Deontay. We talked about this. We said that who cares? There's going to be volume there, but what would it look like? Like when I said that I love Devontae Adams, you put cold water on that because of the quarterback play.
Oh, I tried to light that thing on fire.
Through week 1, it looks like you are spot on. And that is a stud wide receiver in Devontae Adams. Now we're talking about Deontay Johnson, who, yes, he still separates, but he's lost separation in each of the past couple of years. He has 5 touchdowns in his last 31 football games. And you just can't back Carolina. I need to see it. I don't want to put Deontay in my lineup. Lad McConkey just led the team in targets and catches, and he scored a touchdown in his first NFL game. So no chance, man.
Well, I mean,
Go
you
on.
have him behind Ladd, so I'll give you one more and kind of pull this team into the conversation here. Look, I forgot to
You gonna say
timestamp this
Quentin?
one for
You gonna
everybody.
say
As
Quentin
everybody,
Johnson?
no. Although Quentin Johnston, deeper leagues,
first game.
100%. I stashed him. We'll just again out there as the 2. I brought it. How many times did I bring that up to you, Meaney? Who had a higher drop percentage? Not drops because volume matters.
Yeah.
Drop percentage. Keenan Allen or Quentin Johnston last year? It was Keenan Allen. Just Quentin Johnston's was magnified by the times and the big plays and everything like that. All right, so I agree. I'd probably go McConkey over Deontay Johnson, although I'm not giving up on Deontay. I still have him as a wide receiver 4, and I'm with you. Like, I was arguing for Deontay Johnson as a wide receiver 3, to be clear. Like, for everybody out there, I know that Meaney wasn't saying I wasn't coming for me for that, but why he was off of it, I still wasn't in on anything more than, like, wide receiver 3 because of volume. Like, hey, 150 targets, it is the Panthers. The targets are probably only going to be good enough to catch half of them, but that's wide receiver 3. 75 catches, Deontay Johnson, about 1,000 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's still wide receiver 3. Okay, all that being said, let's talk about the Rams because we have no Puka Nacua. You're welcome, everybody. I ruined yet another one for you. Jordan Love, Puka Nacua, Jake Ferguson, Etienne, and there was one other too. Like we might have, I forget who the other was, but no Nacua. We talked about this on Sirius XM, and I want to bring it up again. So when Nacua left, Tyler Johnson actually ran more percentages of everything and actually had a higher target percentage than Demarcus Robinson. I'm not saying I have Demarcus Robinson behind Johnson. I still have Demarcus Robinson in front of him. Let's not forget how good Demarcus Robinson did last year for those few games as essentially the 3. And I know Cooper Kupp wasn't 100%, but Demarcus Robinson's great. Who fills the Nacua role is Tyler Johnson. I'm saying all that to say he's a sleeper. I still have Demarcus Robinson in front of him, but would you go Tyler Johnson or Deontay Johnson? Which Johnson are you picking, to use it that way in phrasing for everybody out there, Meaney? Who's your favorite Johnson?
I'm
time-stamping Meaney's favorite Johnson.
I think over time, over the next couple weeks, maybe Tyler, but I'll give Deontay the edge here. Yeah, I saw what you saw, and it's nice for you to bring up those numbers and maybe play that Puka Nacua role. Is certainly appealing in Sean McVay's offense, but Demarcus Robinson certainly ahead of him, I believe. I think like 72, 78 snaps, and I'll just go with Deontay. As I think his usage is one thing too. Like, it was very puzzling to see him not out there in like 90% of the snaps. I don't know. Was he hurt? Was the game just over? I don't get it. I don't understand.
Not even 90. Not even 70. The only wide receiver on the Panthers that was over 70% and was only 74 was Adam Thielen. Like, again, this is what I ranted about. What the flipping blankety blank did you bring in Deontay Johnson for if you were going to do this?
Yeah, what's the thinking behind it? If the game's out of hand, who cares? You need the reps. Like, there needs to be. You brought him in to help your young quarterback. He's probably the best option to help.
The all-season reports were like they were bunk beds, like they were stepbrothers.
Dave Canales,
where's Deontay?
It's going to look this year. Where's Deontay? Dude, he's on the sidelines. Like, get him on the field and running reps.
I will say that.
I'll lean him over Ty, though.
That's the only argument you can make, is that what you just said. Yeah, sure, is a blowout. Maybe they don't need to see the reps. That's why I'm not giving up. That's not why I'm dropping Deontay Johnson yet. Let's make a pause here and just see. Now, if it happens, I'm saying not even just one more game. I need at least 2 more games because the volume, but I need to see that trend continue. Like, if this week, basically I need to see a closer game, which we might not get. Honestly, that's the problem.
We may not.
Get the
I want to see him at least 85% of the snaps, like at least that. You know, I want to see him on the field a ton, running all the routes, and you hope that he
Jets
gets
flying
like
overhead.
7 or 8
Can you hear
targets.
that?
Yeah, I do.
America.
Uh-oh.
We're actually not supposed to have that in this area. There's zones in Virginia Beach of like how loud the jet noise is supposed to be. This is the lowest zone. This is not supposed to be happening. But
Oh, wow.
I don't know what's going on.
It happens all the time. I live close to a military base, so all the time.
Oh yeah. For anybody that knows Virginia Beach, Oceana, a very large naval field over there. So if you live close to that, you get that. I think it's 85 plus or 90 or something like that. Oh, it sounds like they're doing touch and goes off your roof over there. It's super bad. I could never live over there and do my job. Anyway, Browns Jaguars. Here's the one that I think should be brought up as a fatality. You're starting them. There's no question about it. But I say the fatalities of like, what's the chances that this happens? Travis Etienne. They were joking at least through week 1 about finally the workload getting pulled off. It was a 50-50 split with Bigsby. And obviously you're starting him, but it is a very bad matchup to start him. Top of that split. Let's put it this way. If a fatality for Travis Etienne was he does not finish his top 20, what do you think the likelihood of that happening is?
Yeah, I think pretty good, actually. Top 20.
Really?
I got him
50%?
at 19. Yeah.
50% chance?
Yeah, 50% chance. Mixing in Bigsby and then what you said, the matchup to Cleveland. And not a great first game for Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, so we're both kind of.
And actually, the one behind him, I think I'm going to let my projections tell me, but I think I would swap the one behind him, and the one behind him is Brian Robinson against the Giants.
Yeah, Ryan Robinson and Dobbins are two big risers for me this week.
It's funny. That's who I have him sandwiched between. I have Dobbins, Etienne, Brian Robinson. And I could see him slipping back one more spot. I would probably stop there because one of my favorite values, in my opinion, we talked about this a lot. Aaron Jones is at 22, but against the 49ers, I would still go Etienne.
You and I are really close here. Like Etienne 19, Dobbins 20, Ramondre 21, Robinson 22, and Aaron Jones at 23. So, but yeah,
and Montgomery at 23.
Yeah, nice.
Maybe I hate Montgomery.
I'm maybe a little high on Montgomery. The Bucs I still think will be a good run defense, but I just think a lot of points and he'll score. I think he's going to score a touchdown. It's such a cop-out thing, but he just always seems to touchdown. And if he scores a touchdown, he's probably going to have like 15 fantasy points.
He is. All right, so on the other side of this, what do you think about Jerry Jeudy? I think he's an intriguing sleeper that I brought up as a potential power-up because not only the usage last week, which of course is a little bit different, he is not running as the 2 Elijah Moore is, but I think Elijah Moore, similar to Jeudy, both of them are kind of miscast as being a pure outside number 2. And with no Njoku,
that's it.
That's where Judy's already doing a lot of his work anyway. So I think Judy's intriguing this week. It sounds like you're on the same page.
I'm with you, yeah. And I think he was like, an interesting pickup is like maybe you're not like when you watch Cleveland and you watch Watson, you're just like, this offense is maybe a disaster. But Jeudy may have like new life. You talk about power ups, like new life in Cleveland this season. Maybe just relevant as a 4 because he wasn't really getting drafted like in the 60s.
No,
so
nobody wanted him after what's been happening.
We wanted him, so he may turn out to have a better season than Deontay Johnson. Like that's something that's possible.
All right. Chances Justin Fields doesn't finish as a top 10 quarterback this week. That's a fatality for Justin Fields.
Yeah, I think it's pretty strong that he won't. But he
really?
Could. Yeah, actually, I don't know, right around that mark. Until he wasn't top 10 this past week, right? And the pass defense in Denver actually maybe all right and played pretty good. Like Geno played good.
I'm not worried about the pass defense when it comes to Fields. That's the thing.
Yeah, he's just not going to throw. He's going to run. You just hope he runs 70 yards and scores a touchdown. But I don't think he's going to have the same sort of rapport with Pickens this week as he did last week.
Justin Fields or Stafford against Arizona?
Stafford.
I go Fields.
Although what I will say about Stafford is it sounds like they could be without 4 of their 5 offensive linemen for that game right now for the Rams. Like that's concerning.
So that's
Sean McVay was on NFL Live yesterday, and there was a list of injuries, and it's like 12, and he's like, "We're not going to feel sorry for ourselves. We're not going to, we did that 2 years ago when everybody's hurt. We're just gonna, it is what it is. We may have 4 offensive linemen sidelined for that game. We'll figure it out."
People need to stop. Oh gosh, it's a nothing statement. It means absolutely nothing, and it's like we've been saying it for like. The biggest problem is my mom said it for like my entire life, and now it's become I don't know. There's even a commercial that uses it. Like I forget what commercial it's for, and they're like, everybody says it is what it is, and I'm just like, it's become so popular now, and it's driving me nuts.
No, I'm with you.
Thank you, Mom. But it's like nothing. It means nothing. What does that even mean? Of course, it is what it is. Everything is what it is. Like, my desk is what it is. It's a flipping desk. Traffic is what it is. Yeah, I'm stuck in it. Like, okay, cool. Thank you for your nonsense statement. Back to this. Justin Fields or Dak against the Saints?
I do have Dak ahead 2 spots.
Close? 2 spots? How about Justin Fields or Brock Purdy against the Vikings?
I got Purdy, even though it sounds like we both feel like they're going to run all over Minnesota. I do have Brock just ahead. For example, I have Fields ahead of Burrow.
Okay, so do I. I actually Burrow all the way down to 16.
Yikes.
Against the
Yeah,
Chiefs.
it's fair.
I
He's
have
the one
zero
guy
Burrow
beats
this year.
Mahomes, but that offense didn't look good. And it seems like he was dealing with a hand injury. I didn't notice that throughout the game. And then I saw yesterday a bunch of clips of him doing this on the bench. He couldn't even like pick up a water bottle. I'm like, man, really Burrow again? Like early season injuries with this guy.
Yeah. Can we stop with the Burrow injuries? I would appreciate. Actually, can we just stop with the freaking Bengals injuries? I enjoy this team. They're just fun.
Yeah.
But we can't
Really
have fun right
gone
now.
through it over the past couple of years early on in seasons.
Okay, so then at the same time in this, what are the chances that, let's say, T. Higgins doesn't play? Would you take a shot on Yoshivas again, or are you with me in the fact that I want Yoshivas? Here's the thing. I want Yoshivas as like a wide receiver 4 or 5 if Higgins is out there. If Higgins is not out there, I actually don't even want to start him.
No, I'm with you. Yeah,
Okay.
it was. I mean, I don't have too much to add besides the fact that I agree that he's probably better suited in the slot as the 3, not acting as the 1 at times, which was the case in that game with Chase limited. So, yeah, no,
Okay.
not in there.
As we get out of here, fatality or power up next, Meaney? Which do you want?
Power up.
All right, let's do a power up. I'm going to make you choose who's more likely to power up your roster this week. Gabe Davis. For everybody that doesn't know, Gabe Davis was the only wide receiver on this team that stayed out there in 1 wide receiver sets, which slightly concerning for Christian Kirk, question mark going forward. Needs to be watched in Run Burgundy. But Brian Thomas, maybe already the one. Anyway,
Yes.
Gabe Davis, potentially this week in bad matchup, but he can get deep at times again against the Browns. As we saw last week, Brandon Cooks. Actually, they had a few shots downfield last week. So Gabe Davis or the human Dortch, who Kyler Murray just loves. Like, apparently, they are the best friends that Bryce Young and Deontay Johnson were supposed to be. So would you go Gabe Davis or Dortch?
Is Dortch going to ruin? Is Dortch and Kyler's relationship going to ruin the excitement of Marv as a rookie? Oh my goodness! I don't want to overreact,
Yes.
but I'm playing Dortch. I'm playing
Okay.
Dortch over Gabe Davis. Yeah.
I'm okay with that one. All right, then a
Yep.
fatality on the flip side of things. Xavier Worthy, fatality potential if Marquise Brown is back. Because we know we're playing Worthy if there is no Marquise Brown, but there's a chance he
Yeah.
could return in week 2. If Marquise Brown is back, is Xavier Worthy a fatality waiting to happen?
Yeah, I think so. Right. We saw this with CEH in his first year, and everybody got excited in his first game against I forget who it was, but he popped off with the Chiefs, and everyone was like, "Oh my goodness, he's going to set NFL records." And Worthy's on pace for 34 touchdowns with 58 touches. I don't know, 69 touches, but I got him in the late 30s. Like I'm in on. I could Thomas and Ladd. I think we'll have more work.
You know, I
more
I have them back to back with because they're essentially the same person for their potential. And honestly, you could argue the second one is even more potential because he's out there a little bit more than him. But it's Tank Dell and Xavier Worthy. Same thing.
Oh yeah.
Huge plays waiting to happen, even potentially out of the backfield, but they're the 3s. That's, of course, assuming Marquise Brown is out there. I would move Xavier. I would play Xavier Worthy over Amari Cooper if there's no Marquise Brown.
Yeah, I'm with you. Right, shoot for some upside, and you can handle that if he's your 3 or is your flex, and you have some floor guys. It's a good comparison, Tank Dell. I think at the end of the day, we'll see Tank Dell with more catches and more targets, but they're both. It's a good comparison because they'll both have some highs and some lows.
You ready for this last one to get out of here? This is a combination of fatality power up. So this is the craziest stat I think I found this week. The one quarterback I'm going to give you is Caleb Williams. The other one I'm going to throw out against him. This quarterback, for his entire career, has 13 rushing touchdowns. They have all come when not under pressure. He has 0 rushing touchdowns when under pressure, which is not something that makes sense when you think about it, because you think more scrambling, especially if you have the legs. Maybe you score at least 2 or 3 when you're under pressure. Not all not under pressure, and 0. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I first name was Daniel Jones, but
Daniel Jones. It is Daniel Jones.
it is
All
Daniel.
13 of his rushing touchdowns are when not under pressure. Here's the good news.
Interesting.
The Commanders do not get pressure on the quarterback. Would you go Daniel Jones or Caleb Williams in week 2? And I can't believe I'm doing this in my rankings, but I went Daniel Jones, and I hate it.
It's the funny game that we play of fantasy football, right? It's rushing quarterbacks, matchups baked in. I want to see where I have Daniel Jones. I do have Caleb Williams 2 spots ahead, so I could.
You might need to move it.
I could get behind it. It's certainly a much better matchup. It should be fun to watch Caleb and CJ Stroud. I think that's a Sunday night football game, primetime. This should be good. But Caleb did not look good in that game. I'm sure he'll get better, but he threw for 93 passing yards in that football game. So Daniel Jones may run for 85 rushing yards. And you just hope, Neighbors, it's a much better matchup. Yeah, I can be talked into that one, Jake. Super fun stuff.
Hopefully you can be talked into this format. Hey, feel free. Let us know. Hopefully subscribe, rate, review, all that kind of stuff. But jump in, tweet, and say like, hey, I really like this format. I really thought it sucked. And maybe the time stamps whether or not they work. And we love you. And at Chris Meaney, at Jake Ciely, we'll be back. The mailbag tomorrow. Let me know also. Tweet me at AllInKid. And let me know what you got for the mailbag and run through that for this week. And then back next week for week 3. Next week's already going to be 3 by the time you and I talk again. This is insane.
I know.
You know what else is insane? The fact that I'm going to keep talking until I get cut off again. Because that's the new thing on this podcast as we continue to go and get out of here. And Fox is
Love
waiting
you,
this
Fox.
time. I know. He's just